Hello my friends, if you're looking to add a new Hermes bag onto your wish list, if you're wondering what's the latest and greatest when it comes to Hermes bags, what pieces you'll see on display if you stop by your local boutique, or if you just want to see some beautiful new Hermes bags, this video is for you because as promised today we'll be looking at and breaking down some of the Hermes bags that I saw on display in London, and I'll not only share with you my thoughts on these pieces but also everything I know about them, so the styles, the colors, the leathers, the sizes, and even the prices in some cases. So without further ado, if you'd like to see some really special takes on the Birkin, the Kelly, the Constance, and more, then make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet, and keep on watching. First things first, if you haven't seen my complete London vlogs, there are two of them, which I'll make sure to link down below for you. We not only went to Hermes, but we also checked out a ton of incredible stores in London, and we did quite a bit of window shopping. So if you'd like to see what else I got to explore in London, I'll make sure to have the vlogs linked down below for you. And then there's also an unboxing coming your way hopefully soon. There are two more pieces that I'm waiting on from the row. Are there two or three more pieces? I think there are two more pieces coming, so stay tuned for that. I want to collect everything so I can share with you everything that I didn't necessarily buy in London, but I discovered in London and I had to get, so that is still coming your way. But without further ado, let's jump into talking about some of these beautiful Hermes bags. So I'll make sure to put the clip up here. I'm sorry if it's not the clearest because obviously I wasn't intending on using it this way, but I thought since we already have these bags, we might as well take a closer look at them. So I tried to not only do the clips, but I also tried to find some images online just so you have a better understanding of what these bags look like. So the first bag that we had on display, well, the first two bags in the first little cupboard were two different sizes of the 24-24 bag, which is a relatively new Hermes bag launch. I actually remember these walking down the runway and people going crazy for them because they thought it was a new modern take on the Kelly bag, which is still how most people know these, which I kind of agree with, but I kind of don't. Yes, it is a single top handle bag that has a trapeze shape. The biggest difference to me is obviously the slouchiness. These bags are a lot more slouchy than most Kelly bags, even more slouchy than a Kelly Return. They're wider, they're more bulky, and then obviously a Kelly bag goes like this in terms of the shape, and then these go upwards, which you know what I mean. You guys don't come here for my eloquent use of words, but I hope it makes sense. And that little detail, that little feature, in my opinion, makes a big difference and makes these bags a lot more casual looking and feeling. Now, when these bags first launched, they initially came in two different sizes, in 29 and 35, which obviously refers to the measurements of the bag. And it was only the 29 size that came with a shoulder strap, which is the one that I was kind of interested in. I have to be honest, when I first saw this on the runway, I was like, I'll have to get one of these. I immediately reached out to my advisor at the time and I said, whenever this becomes available, I would love to get my hands on one. And I think they did call me when these first came in. I think it was just before Christmas time when these first started dropping in boutiques. And I remember trying the 29 size and I was so disappointed in the shoulder strap. The 35 bag didn't come with a shoulder strap. It was only the 29 that came with a shoulder strap, which for me was just a must. But unfortunately, the shoulder strap is attached to the back of the bag. So even the bag empty, even when the bag is fully empty, it is quite heavy, obviously because of the use of leather. So as soon as you put the shoulder strap on, the bag tilts forward. And I can only imagine how annoying that would get if you pack your bag full of your essentials. So for me, that was kind of a big turn off when it came to this particular bag. I just didn't feel that it was really well thought out, and I can only imagine how it would age. If you own this bag and if you've had it for a while, please let us know if you had any issues with the shoulder strap. But I kind of felt that the back of the bag could stretch over time, which is something that one of you actually pointed out to me. So it was definitely an interesting bag. It wasn't one that I thought was perfectly executed, but I love the idea. And personally, I wouldn't compare it to the Kelly bag. To me, it's almost like if the Kelly bag and the toolbox bag, which you don't see that often these days, had a baby. This would be it, but it is definitely a lot more casual than a Kelly bag. And we have here two different versions of it. So in gold with a touch of exotic skin, we have the 24-24-29 bag, and then right beside it we have the 24-24 mini, which I believe measures 21 centimeters, which now comes in an ostrich touch. So the body of the bag is made of regular leather, but then that little detail on the flap is actually made of ostrich, which you can buy. I think you can buy the mini bag in an ostrich touch, you can pick it up in a lizard touch, and also in an alligator touch. But I have to say that the ostrich one is pretty special. I had actually seen this pop up online, and if I'm not mistaken, it was, I want to say it was like $10,500 before tax, obviously, something along those lines. So it is slightly more expensive than how much the bag would be without the ostrich touch, but I don't think it is insane. Obviously, it would be a lot more expensive if it had an alligator flap. But personally, when it comes to the mini 24-24, I think I have a review of this bag. It's one of those pieces that comes with a long shoulder strap that you can twist and turn to make this bag into a crossbody bag. You can use it as a clutch, you can use it as a top handle bag, you can turn it into a shoulder bag or even a back bag. But there's just something off about these proportions and the strap itself. I will try to find my original review of this bag and trying it for myself in person, because I did have a chance to play around with it and I remember being quite disappointed by it. So I don't think that these are the worst Hermes bags out there, but personally the execution for this kind of price just always leaves me wanting more. Moving on, the next bag is one of my favorite bags, which is the Constance 18, or also known as the Mini Constance, which is a bag that I have several videos on. I have an in-depth deep dive on the Constance 18. If you want to know anything about the Constance, that is my TED talk on this style. Then I also have some reviews comparing the Mini Constance to the Mini Kelly and so on, all of which I'll make sure to link down below for you. But here we have a Constance 18 in shiny, or also known as Lycée Alligator, which you guys obviously know me and you know that my favorite type of exotic skin is alligator. Obviously there is alligator and different types of crocs that Hermes uses, all of which we have talked about before, but I do believe that this is alligator, mainly because you'll find the Constance Mini in alligator more often than not instead of croc. And then if you have a really close look at the bag, you can see how the scales are quite pronounced, but they are not really symmetric. There isn't a beautiful gradient, which usually have a telltale sign of it being alligator skin, which is one of the most hard wearing skins. Personally, I do love the Constance in exotic skin, but I don't love it in Lycée or shiny alligator. I think there are some bags that suit this high shine polished finish, but to me the Constance isn't it, just because it already has this large shiny hardware. I think it feels a little bit overdone with the bag itself being quite glossy and it having this high shine finish, which is surprising that I'm saying this considering how much I love my Constance in box. But I think there is a difference between the sheen of box leather and that really glossy finish of a Lycée Alligator or Lycée Croc. To me this always felt just a little bit outdated and old school, and please let me know if you disagree. But this is the bag that we have here, and then I have to be honest with you guys, I'm slightly colorblind, which is probably why I love black so much. But am I wrong to say that this has a slight green hue to it, which if it does, it is probably in the color Word Russo, which is a newer, well, it's not a new color, but it is one that I have been seeing more and more of recently by Hermes, which is a beautiful dark green shade. It's not forest green, but it's not emerald either. It's just the most beautiful combination of different colors. It's one of those unicorn colors that looks different in every single light, and it really depends on what you style it with. If you style it against black, it will obviously look more green. If you style it against green, it will probably look a little bit darker and more bluish. It's a gorgeous shade, but personally, with it having gold hardware, quite a large polished hardware. The leather itself being in a glossy finish, it is just a little bit too formal in my humble opinion. And in case you're wondering about the price, this bag is probably the last Constance that I was asked about, which was in exotic skin, was 30,000 euros, so 29,000 and some. So that's probably the price that you're looking at in Europe, and obviously that will translate depending on where you shop. That's sort of the price that you can expect to pay for a Constance in alligator skin. And obviously there's going to be a slight difference between matte and lisse. And then moving on to the next bag here, we have a Kelly Ado backpack, which is a bag that has been around for quite a while actually. It's gone through a couple of iterations, and this is the latest Kelly Ado backpack, which I did try when it first launched, and I remember loving the idea of it, but it is quite a narrow and small backpack. I think from memory it measures 22 centimeters, and it is just a small backpack. I'm quite wide shouldered, so on me it almost looked like I was carrying a kid's backpack, but I do have a friend who owns and loves this bag and carries it almost on a daily basis. It's just a great classic basic bag. Not basic, but it's a great basic piece to have in your collection. So if you're looking for an everyday casual bag, you love the quality of Hermes, you want a bag that leaves you hands free, but also looks unbelievably refined and elegant, this is a great backpack to look into. I think, just looking at it, I think this might be in Clemence. I don't think it is in Togo because the grains are a little bit more shallow and it has a little bit more sheen to it than Togo does. Togo, when you first get a Togo bag, it will look matte and it will slowly go a little bit more shiny. But then Clemence has a little bit more sheen to it to begin with, and obviously will get shinier and shinier as time goes on. The grains are more shallow and Clemence is also a little bit softer, but it is a beautiful bag. And I actually remember this bag being a lot more bright in person. I think my phone is not really accurate here, and I think it might have been in the color Mykonos, which is just a beautiful poppy shade of blue, but I think it looks a lot more muted here than it did in real life. And the Kelly Ado is one of those bags that you can pick up in a ton of different colors and a few different types of leather. So it definitely comes in Clemence. It also comes in Evercolor. I've also seen it in Croc. I've also seen it, sorry, not Croc, Alligator, I think. And I think it might also be available in Ostrich, but don't quote me on that. It definitely comes in Clemence, Evercolor, and Alligator. And it is just a great bag. If the size and the proportions suit you, it's definitely something that I would highly suggest that you look into. And the last time I checked, which was at this point years ago, so it must have increased since then, but if I'm not mistaken, this bag was around $8,000 when it first launched. Now this is going to be quite tough because I honestly didn't take a proper look at these in person, and I cannot tell what size these are in, because the Picotins, we're looking at two Picotin bags here. The Picotins come in traditionally 3 sizes, and now there are 4 with the reintroduction of the mini Picotin, which we talked about recently, so I'll make sure to have that review of mine linked up here. But let's just say for argument's sake that one of them is an 18 and then the other one would be a 22, but technically there are Picotin 18s, 22s, and then 26 other than the new mini version. So let's just say that the first one is 18 and then the other one is 22. The first one is your traditional run-of-the-mill Picotin bag in a beautiful soft grain skin in the color Blue Royale with gold hardware, which is a nice bag. I did own, well, actually still own a Picotin bag and I like it, but it's just nothing to go crazy about. I think it is an amazing casual bag. It can be styled in a ton of different fun ways, but personally I wouldn't really run out there to get my hands on one at this point. It's a great bag, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just not something that I'm crazy about. If you love your Picotin and use it on a regular basis, which I'm sure a lot of you do, please let us know in the comment section why you find it so enjoyable to use. I would love to know, because I've always liked the idea of the Picotin bag, but it's just not a bag that I really reach for that often. Although I would definitely consider at this point getting the 26 size, which is really large. They don't make too much of it these days, but it is definitely a really cool sort of hobo style tote bag. The smaller sizes, I think they look beautiful on some people, but again, I can only repeat myself, it's just not something that I would go crazy for. And then the bag beside this, I think this was, let me look at the video really quick. Is it blue or green? It could go either way because we have a larger Picotin here, which I would assume is a Picotin 22 in the Touch version. So similar to the 24-24 bags, the body of the bag is made of regular skin, and then the handles are made of matte alligator. And if it's blue, it's probably in the color Blue Nuit, again with gold hardware, but this bag also comes in green. And it's kind of hard to tell for me what it is, blue or green. What do you guys think? Is it blue or green? Let's just say it is blue, in which case this would be Blue Nuit, and it comes with Touch matte alligator handles, which is a bag that I was offered once or twice, and I remember turning it down and then kind of regretting not getting it, because it definitely makes the Picotin a little bit more special to me. I think the Picotin is such a popular bag that you see quite a lot of it out there. It is a lot of people's first entry-level bag, and it is really a great one for that. But I did, perhaps the reason I don't like it so much, or the reason I'm not so crazy about it at this point, is because I am overwhelmed by it. I've seen so much of it. I've been lucky enough to see so much of it out there that at this point it just has no magic to me. And so when I saw the Picotin Touch, I was like, this is a little bit more special. I could work with this, but I never bought it. So if you're looking to add a Picotin to your collection, this might be a good way to go. If you don't want to go down the traditional route, you can definitely find Picotins that have special handles. Some of them have woven handles, while others have handles made of exotic skin. In this case, the handles are made of just a little bit of matte alligator, which I have to say is a really nice touch, quite literally. Finally, we have a truly new bag, which isn't technically that new either. This bag was supposed to launch, I remember it was supposed to launch for fall winter, but I can't remember if it was fall winter 2020 or 2021. I think it might have been 2021. So, they're only a year late, which is pretty good for Hermes. But this bag is the Boucle Sellier bag, which is actually inspired one of Hermes's most iconic jewelry creations. You might have seen the Boucle Sellier bracelets before. They've also done necklaces and different iterations of it, but they're most well known for their bracelets, which you can either pick up in gold or silver, which is really kind of a chunky statement piece as far as Hermes is concerned, and it is really a beautiful creation. Obviously, it pays tribute to their equestrian heritage with that really cool buckle, which almost looks like something that you'd find on a saddle or even a belt. And this bag comes in two different sizes. So you have this traditional size, which definitely feels a little bit more casual, and then it also comes in a so-called élan size, which is a little bit more elongated and a little bit more shallow. They're both nice bags. They're made of Swift. They do come in a few different colors, mainly more neutral colors, and then obviously they have this chain embossing detail on the front with this large oversized metal clasp, which is actually quite heavy. Now, what a lot of people love about this bag is the fact that the shoulder strap is adjustable, and the shoulder strap is a lot thinner than it is on most Hermes bags that you can put crossbody, which I think is a really nice touch. Would I ever buy this bag? I personally would not, because well, there are a few reasons. Number one, I don't like the shape. I don't like how structured it is. What I love about the Constance is that I feel it's a little bit softer, even though it's probably just as structured as this bag. I like how the edges are rounded, whereas they're quite harsh on this bag. And also, I don't love how this bag is cut off. It has this sort of 90-degree L shape cutout where the buckle itself is, which I don't know how that would age. Hermes does do this quite often. They do the exact same thing on bags like the Verrou chain and the Verrou clutch bags. And I wonder how these edges age because they're quite sharp. I wonder if they start curling up after a while. Let me know if you have any experience with that. It is a nice bag. It is I mean, it's not inexpensive by any means, but it is reasonably priced for an Hermes bag. I think last time I saw this online, or was it in store? I think it might have been online. I think it was around 6,300 euros. And then moving on to two classics, which I'm sure you'll need no introduction to, which are two Birkin 25s, I want to say. So the first one is definitely a Birkin 25 Togo in gold with palladium finish, which is just a true classic. I don't actually know how I feel about, well, I'm kind of torn. When it comes to gold bags, especially gold bags in Togo, they are stunning. Do you guys prefer gold bags with palladium hardware or gold hardware? I can kind of see both sides because gold bags usually come with contrast stitching, so usually if a bag comes in gold, the stitching is going to be in white, which does make the bag a little bit more cool toned. So it does work with a palladium hardware, but because the bag is so warm toned to begin with, I really like it with gold hardware too. So if I had to choose, I would probably go for gold on gold, which is what I did with my Mini Kelly. But I kind of also like it with palladium hardware. It definitely makes the bag look and feel a lot more casual than I would look with gold. Let me know what you guys prefer, or if it doesn't matter to you. I definitely like it with palladium hardware, but personally, gold on gold is just my favorite combination. And then beside that, we have a Birkin Sellier, which it definitely looks a little bit larger here, but I want to say that it was in size 25. And again, this one is not an alligator like the Constance was, even though I think it is the same color. To me, this bag again has a really subtle green hue to it, which leads me to believe that this is in the color Vert Rosso as well. We have it with gold hardware here, but this is in Porosus Croc, if I'm not mistaken. And let me tell you why I think that is. First of all, the grains are incredibly symmetric, and you have the most beautiful gradients of the scales going from small to larger and larger and larger as you get closer to the bag. And if you look really close, you can see tiny little dots on each one of the scales, which usually means that it is Porosus Croc. And I do have a video just kind of comparing the different types of exotic skins, the pros and cons of each one, which I'll make sure to link up here. And again, this is in Lycée finish, as was the Constance, which you guys know is not my cup of tea. I hope the lighting is still okay because I just had to take the baby down really quick. And I think we actually got through all the bags that I wanted to share with you. The last thing that we have left is to discuss my experience, which overall I have to say that I had a great experience at the Hermes boutique at Harrods. I have to be honest with you, I wasn't really looking to buy anything, so I didn't really speak to anyone, and no one came up to me to ask me if I needed any help, even though there were a couple of advisors just wandering around, which I don't have any issues with. I'm so loyal to my local boutiques that I knew I wasn't going to buy anything, so I wasn't looking to speak to anyone. And thankfully no one came up to me to tell me that I can't take any pictures, which I really appreciated. But I have to say that it wasn't nearly as busy as I thought it would have been, and I actually went through the back. So the Harrods boutique has two different entrances you can go through. I think there is Saint Laurent in front of it, which is technically the entrance where you can ask for help and they can put you in the digital queue, or you can go through the back where they have their shoes, which is the entrance or the exit that I used to get in. And I knew I was only going to have a browse, so it worked for me. And I would say that if you're going to London and you're looking to buy something at Hermes, I would probably avoid their flagship on Bond Street, which is where I think that is, because that boutique is always insanely busy. But I've always had a great experience at the Harrods store overall. They have their boutique downstairs where they have their bags, their leather goods, shoes, a little bit of home, and then a tiny bit of equestrian pieces. And then they do have a little bit of jewelry in the back, and then they have a dedicated boutique on the first floor for ready to wear. So they do have quite a bit for you to look at. And as I said, it wasn't insanely busy, even though I would have thought that that is going to be their most busy boutique. It definitely wasn't. I have also been to their boutique on Sloane Street a couple of times, not this time, but I was there in December, and I have to say I had an amazing experience. They were incredibly nice, and even though they were quite busy, they still found the time to find someone who can walk me around the boutique and introduce me to their different métiers, and they had an amazing selection of pieces, especially when it came to ready to wear. If you're into Hermes ready to wear, the Sloane Street store is, in my opinion, the one for you. Now, do bear in mind and take these tips with a grain of salt, because I am a London rookie. I am by no means an expert. If you're local and you shop in London, please let us know your tips and tricks in the comment section and your overall experience. But just based on my limited experience, if you're going to London to buy something from Hermes, try your luck in Harrods or maybe the boutique on Sloane Street. The one in Selfridges, to me, just feels a little bit like an airport store. It's always so insanely busy, which never makes sense to me because it's such a tiny store and they have such few pieces on display that I don't even know what people look at. And then the Bond Street, I'm sure it is divine. They have an incredible selection. But there's always a huge line of tourists outside, which would be way too overwhelming for me. But if you're going to London, Harrods, I've always had a really nice experience, and then the Sloane Street store, which is not too far from Harrods, is always incredible in my experience. And my friends, these are all the bags that I saw at Harrods in London on display. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it was different. I don't think we've ever done this before, but if you'd like me to do more of these videos, just going into Hermes and breaking down what I see, let me know in the comment section. I hope this gave you some inspiration for what new bags you could put on your display, or maybe you just enjoyed gossiping about Hermes. I hope you enjoyed it either way, and if you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. I really appreciate you being here and watching, and I hope to see you back here with, I think the next couple of videos are going to be unboxing. So we have an Hermes unboxing coming up soon. I'm waiting on one last piece, and then we also have obviously my London unboxing, which I want to do as soon as possible because I've been back from London for almost 2 weeks now. Has it been that long? I've been back for a while, so I am due to do that unboxing for you guys soon too. So make sure you stay tuned. Those videos are coming your way, but I appreciate you being here and watching, and I hope to see you back here with a new video really soon.